The movie begins with Ryan Mosley, a talented but unlucky chef, fleeing from the United States to some country in Latin America to get away from his gambling problems. His creditor constantly texts him but he doesn't respond. Instead, he meets his driver at the airport, who takes him to visit his old friend from culinary school, Jack, whom he hasn't seen for 12 years. Ryan arrives at Jack's luxurious place and helps himself with some meals and wine since he received a letter from Jack, allowing him to make himself at home since he won't be home until later. After waiting some hours at the pool, Jack arrives and the two old friends happily greet each other. Impressed with the wine cellar, Ryan asks him about it and Jack tells him that he is catering a dinner at the luxury place, which is prepared by the agency he works for. Ryan volunteers to be his sous chef but Jack tells him it is a solo gig. Later, while sitting outside, Ryan keeps asking about where Jack has been. Jack was in different places until he landed in the mysterious agency. Ryan is impressed by the perks of the job, which included traveling to different countries. When he hears that Jack doesn't have work until next week, Ryan is amazed but Jack tells him he has to prepare the raw materials and the menu. In the morning, after running in the beautiful weather, they ride into town with Ryan's old car. While they are having breakfast, Jack tells him that he envies his free lifestyle and his fancy job has some really bad side to it. But Ryan doesn't believe him and playfully confronts him about the first-class flight he took to come to the luxury home. Then, they meet a tourist named Alice and invite her to the house. They cook for her to try to impress her and chat with her while having wine. In the middle of their conversation, Jack jokingly talks about the watch Ryan was wearing and Alice asks about it. Jack tells her that he won that watch in a card game 15 years ago and takes back the watch from Ryan. Jack goes to work the next day while Ryan checks out the beautiful house. Then Ryan logs into Jack's bank account using his computer. He discovers that his friend has over £1 million in his account. He was tempted to transfer some of it but he logs out and deletes the search history. At night, Jack comes back home and they share a smoke at the pool. He keeps talking about how unfair the world has become and the rich are where they are because of their ruthlessness. Ryan doesn't understand everything his friend is saying but he doesn't say anything back. He gets up in the morning and finds Jack hanging in the hallway. He is shocked to see that his friend has taken his own life and thinks Jack is foolish. So after sitting quietly for some time, Ryan decides to use the opportunity to escape his financial problems by assuming Jack's identity. He tries to access Jack's bank account but he can't get the password, since he has cleared the computer history and the bank asked for an identification when he called them. So he makes a fake ID on a Chinese website, which takes 3 days to deliver. Then, he was about to book a flight to London but his ruthless creditor sent him a picture of his mother and reminded him he had 2 days to make the payment. Ryan dumps the body of Jack in a lake at night and checks out his residence in London while sitting at a cafe the next day. Then, he gets a text from his creditor saying he has until tomorrow night if he wants to see his mother alive. On his way back, Ryan tries to call his friend, who knows about his gambling problems, but he hangs up on him. He walks into the house and finds two people from the agency. The lady introduces herself as Imogen and her partner as Maurice. Ryan continued to assume the identity of Jack. She asks him about the menu and raw materials and he lies to her about it, saying it is getting ready but not complete. Then he asks her for an advance and he uses it to pay his creditor. Later, Ryan tries to get familiar with the number of people and courses by asking Imogen, but she confronts him about the food after answering his questions. Ryan tells her the truth and blames his lack of preparation on the language barrier. So she decides to help him. Ryan, Morris and Imogen park their car in front of a church and she talks about the meal they are going to prepare. Ryan doesn't understand anything at first, but he realizes that the agency is a shady entertainment company specializing in illegal dinner events with human flesh for their rich clients. Ryan doesn't want to do it, but when he threatens to kill him if a bad dish is served, he complies with her demands. That night, while everyone was back at the house, Ryan packed his clothes, collected his car keys, and took a look around if anyone was there, but he ran to Imogen. He pretends to be thirsty and she gives him a glass of water and explains about the agency. She tries to justify the killings by comparing them with other industries and also pointing out they give back to the community. Maurice, the hitman of the agency, wakes him up the next day and they visit the church to select who will be served dinner. They follow two women going out from the church, but they end up meeting a mechanic named Jose in the village. Ryan chooses him and Morse tricks him into looking under the car. Then Maurice shoots him in the head with a gun, which has a silencer on its top. The two women later appear with a policeman, Officer Gallo, and accuse Ryan and Maurice of following them, but Morris talks to the policeman and tells him that Ryan is an architect and they are searching for a place to build a hotel. They were able to escape after Maurice gave him the company card. Although they were ordered to bring two bodies, Ryan and Morse leave the place. They drag the body of Jose into an underground room and Ryan dismembers the body. He informs Maurice, who prepares the cooking materials, as he exits the underground room with blood all over his body. After taking a bath, Ryan goes to the bedroom and sees a package, which is the fake ID he ordered before. He authenticates the ID by comparing it to Jack's real one and then goes to the car along with his bag. He drives down the hill but he hits one of the workers hired for the event and crashes before he can get far. Maurice comes out and confronts him but Ryan tells him the car went downhill by itself, blaming the problem on the handbrakes. Maurice knew what Ryan was trying to do and told him not to run because the agency would find him. While they were pushing the car together, Ryan asked Maurice how he put up with all of it and if he ever thought of living. Maurice tells him he has gotten used to it and the travel benefits are great. Then, he proceeds to ask him if anyone has ever left the company. Morse replies, saying a chef named Greta has been allowed to leave. Maurice continued telling him how she was able to leave the company. Greta was not feeling good about the work but she suddenly started cooking better and was offered a bonus by the agency. She refused all payments and asked to leave instead. The agency agreed. Maurice had received an email from Greta 1 month after she left saying she was now a personal chef for a wealthy family. After hearing the story of Greta, Ryan prepares to cook as best as he can. Morris brings the first 2 guests after 5 hours and goes back to get the rest. Meanwhile, Imogen gets a report from the guards at the gate that the police are at the station. She tells the guards to let them in. Detective Ruiz and Officer Gallo meet with her. Ruiz asks for Maurice and she tells him he is not available for the moment. She explains they are having a dinner party in the house for the investors who are considering developing a hotel somewhere nearby. Ruiz shows her the picture of Jose and tells her he wants to speak with Maurice since he was seen with Ryan in Jose's neighborhood. Imogen asks Ruiz why they rushed to investigate the matter since it has not been 48 hours. Ruiz tells her that Jose is his nephew and that today was the baptism of his daughter. Then he asks to see Ryan and she takes them to him. Ruiz asks him some questions about the architecture, since he claimed to be one but Ryan's answer was not a proper one. After they show him the picture, he denies seeing Jose. Ryan gives them some of the soup and impresses both of them. Imogen quickly alerts the guests about the police presence and tells them to be ready as they will be posing as property development investors. Then she pulls Ryan aside and scolds him for his lack of preparation about the company rule that states the employees and the guests to be prepared for property development, movie production, and tourism areas when the police get involved. Then, she goes back to speak with the rest of the guests who have arrived with Maurice. As the dinner was being served, Maurice answered all their questions but Ruiz got curious about the disappearance that had been occurring in the area. Then he goes to the guest table and asks them about his missing nephew. The guests deny seeing Jose and Ruiz prepares to leave but one of the guests invites him to stay and Ruiz takes a seat to be served as his own nephew's flesh. Later, Morsi tells Imogen, who was concerned about the guests' risky action, that a girl claimed to be a friend of Jack's. The girl was Alice and Imogen tried to get her to leave but she insisted on getting inside for a bathroom break. Alice asks him why he is pretending to be Jack and he tells her that he is filling in for him. He tries to make her leave by telling her he is in the middle of work and Jack has left permanently. Alice is about to go since he is not as fun as the other night, but she gets scared when she sees blood in one of the pots and Jack's watch on Ryan's hand. She runs back to her car and tries to leave but her car won't start. Maurice appears a few seconds later and offers to take her back to her hotel. Since the guest seems to be enjoying the dinner, Ryan asks her if he could leave the agency like Greta did but she informs him that Greta didn't leave but was served as a meal to the other guests. Imogen also tells him she was the one who wrote the letter to Maurice. Knowing there is no way out for him, Ryan carefully slips a note to Ruiz, asking to meet him in the bathroom. Ryan confesses everything to the detective and Ruiz gets disturbed. After vomiting, he goes back to inform Imogen that he will be leaving and says goodbye to the guests. Ruiz sneaks into the underground butchering room, where he meets Ryan, but they see Alice murdered and lying on the floor. Ryan shows him another severed head and a disgusted Ruiz asks him to bring him his phone from the kitchen, to call Officer Gallo, who left the place earlier. After the guests left, Ryan was on his way to bring back Ruiz's phone but he was intercepted by Imogen. Meanwhile, Ruiz was staring at Alice's body when he was killed by Maurice, who was suspicious about Ryan's whereabouts after he saw him come out of the underground room. Ryan comes back to find out what happened and he can't do anything except help Maurice the bodies apart. Imogen writes a letter to Ruiz's sister that will be sent from a Colombian IP address saying Jose has been having an affair and he has gone to Bogota to track him down. On the next day, a disturbed Ryan joins Imogen and Maurice for breakfast but he can't eat anything since he is too disturbed. She informs him about the incoming request to be on his table and tells him the rest of his money has been wired into his account. Then Ryan gets injected with a GPS tracking device. At the end of the movie, Ryan, who has now accepted his fate as the agency's employee, is seen at the airport on his way to London where he meets an unknown traveler at a bar and gives his name as Jack. With that, the movie ends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching. See you next time.